Okay, student, welcome back to another class. So today's class I'll be taking you on PTR 101, that is Pant Trouser 101. So I'm so excited to be taking you this particular tutorial. Okay, just have your seat, sit down please. Hey you, take away your phone. Yeah, I'm talking to you. All right, bring out your pattern tools and your pattern paper. Now listen very clear. This tutorial is going to be very important and very detailed. You want to keep on watching. Okay, hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're an aspiring fashion designer with great passion, then welcome back to my channel, because I'm going to be taking you through from a complete ignoramus fashion designer to a professional fashion designer. Sounds like a joke? That is just the truth. Okay, my name is Sheila Shitu and I'm an independent and indoor fashion designer based in Kano State, and I'm all about helping aspiring fashion designers and complete ignoramus fashion designers to leverage the power of fashion designing without wasting much of their time. So if you are watching this video to aspire more knowledge in fashion design, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. Click that notification bell, join the family, the Jebu Girls family, so as to always get notified anytime I make a new post. So let's move to the work table. So these are the measurements we'll be needing for this pant trouser: the waist circumference, the hip circumference, the crotch length, the thigh length, the round lap, the round knee, the round ankle, the knee length, and the trouser length. All right. So I've already drafted my guidelines both on the horizontal and on the vertical axis. So because this trouser is going to have about 2 inches of waistband, so I'm going to be starting off from my measurements right from that 2 inches. You can see the way I place my measuring tape. So I'm taking my vertical measurements, so my waist to my hip, my waist to my crotch line, and my waist to my lap line. So I'll just have a straight line to make it more visible. So I've already given you the details of the measurement, so you can check the previous picture that I showed you. So right now my waist to my knee is 19 inches. And my waist to my ankle is 39 inches. My waist to my ankle, which is also the trouser length, is 39 inches. So right now I'll be taking my hip measurements. My hip is 37 inches, and I'll be adding 1 inch of ease allowance to my hip measurement. So after adding 1 inch of ease allowance, I'll divide it by 4. Whatever I have, I'll mark it right there, and I'll mark that from my waistline to my crotch line. My hip measurement, which is 37 plus 1, 38 inches for ease allowance, divided by 4. Whatever I have, I'll mark it from my waist to my crotch. Let's say I have about 9.5 after dividing it, so that is 9.5. So to get my crotch extension, my 9.5, I'll divide it into 4 again. So after dividing it, probably I got about 2.4 inches. So I'll mark that for my crotch line, for my crotch extension, to form my crotch line. So I'll use that to form my crotch line. Don't forget my hip measurements, 37 plus 1 inch of ease, 38 divided by 4, 9.5. Mark it to from the waist to the crotch, and for the crotch extension, divide the 9.5 into 4 again. I got 2.4 inches. Then add it to the crotch line to have the extension. So right now for my crotch line, I'll mark the entire measurement right there to get the midpoint, and I'll locate the midpoint of whatsoever I have, and that's about 6 inches. That's the middle. So I'll be taking that 6 inches from my waist. I'll mark it, you can see, to my guideline, and I'll mark it all the way around to my ankle line, 6 inches. That is half of the crotch measurements, and I got 6 inches. So I mark it from my waist to my ankle line, and I'll have a straight line. So I'm dividing this trouser into 2. So that's the middle. I've divided it into 2. So right now I'll be taking my body circumference. My waist measurement, I will add 1 inch to my waist measurement. So let's say it's 26 plus 1 inch make it 27 divided by 4. Whatever I have, I'll mark it, but I'll also add 1 inch of that allowance to it. Don't forget, add 1 inch of that allowance after you must have divided your waist measurement. So I'll connect my waist to meet with my hip line. So already our hip is in the right calculation because we use the hip measurement to mark that. So the hip measurement is correct right there. You can confirm, just divide your hip by 4, your hip measurement, add 1 inch of his allowance, divide it by 4 and just mark it. So I'll move to my lap area. So my lap measurement is 21, add 1 inch of his allowance, make it 22, divide it by 4. Whatsoever you have, mark it on both sides. So mine is 22 divided by 4, that is 5.5. So I mark it on both sides, starting from the middle line. So now just connect it to meet with my crotch line. So any of the measurements, just always add 1 inch of his allowance to it before you divide it into 4. So on the knee area, I will do the same thing. My knee measurement is 15 inches. I added 1 inch to it for ease, make it 16. 16 divided by 4, that is 4 inches. So I mark 4 inches on both sides, starting from the middle, 4 inches on both sides. So I'm just trying to show you how to calculate it on your measuring tape. So you can use your measuring tape to divide it into 4. So that is 4 inches on both sides. So I'll also connect that for my crotch to meet with my nail. I'm just trying to form the shape of the trouser already. Don't forget, always add 1 inch of his allowance to your measurements before dividing it by 4. So I'll also move to my ankle area. My round ankle is 9 inches plus 1 inch of his, that is 10 inches. 10 divided by 4, that is 2.5. So I mark 2.5 on both sides, starting from the middle, 2.5 on both sides. So I will be sharing it on both sides. So this is what it looks like, the front panel of the trouser. So right now, this guideline, this middle line has already formed our dart line. So right now I'll be taking my dart length, which is of about 4 inches, and I'll also mark my dart. Don't forget, I've already added my dart allowance to the waist measurement when I was taking my circumference, my waist circumference. So that's my dart line. So this is what the front panel looks like. So I'll be needing this to draft out the back panel. So I'll get a fresh paper to trace out all the information on the front panel. So this is a fresh paper already. So I'll be pasting my front panel for the trouser. I'll paste it on the fresh paper and make sure you have excess towards the waist area, like 3 inches upward. So I'll be using my tracing wheel to trace out all the lines of this front panel so it can be visible on the pattern. So this pattern is not transparent, so with my tracing wheel I'll be able to get all the details that I need. So while tracing is going to show on the fresh paper. So since this pattern paper is not transparent, so I'll be using this tracing wheel to trace out all the necessary information that I need from the front pant trouser. So I've traced every details out, so I'll move back to my front panel. So this is my front pattern. So right now I'll be adding my seam allowances on both sides. I'll be adding of about ½ inch of seam allowances all the way around, ½ inches all the way around. So this is what it looks like after adding my seam allowances. So this is it. And I also added my turn up allowance and my allowance for the tip of the trouser. So I've already added every details that I need. So because this pant trouser is going to have hip pockets, so I'll be taking my hip pockets measurement. So I'll be taking of about 2.5 inches for the width and length of 6 inches for my hip pocket. So I'll just be using my pattern tool to connect it to form my hip pocket. Also, I'll be adding ½ inch to it for my joining allowance when I'm joining my pocket to my main trouser. So that's the allowance for that. So this is what it looks like after drafting my hip pocket. So right now I'll be taking my waist slant and I'll come down by 1/2 inch from the crotch line right there, extend my dart upward to meet with my seam allowance and slantly do this. Just watch the way I'm slanting this. That's my waist slant. So I've slanted the waist of the trouser. So I'll be cutting through. Just watch the way I'm cutting this so as not to cut the important part away. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like and share. So this is what it looks like after cutting. This is just the front pattern. So I'll be drafting my pocket facing and the main pocket. So I want my pocket to be as wide as like 8 inches and as long as 11 inches right after the lap, like 1 inch after the lap. So this is how wide and long I want my pocket to be. So I've already cut it out using the measurement that I took right there. So this is what it looks like, the pocket and the facing. So I'll put the pocket just underneath my pant trouser to draft out and shape it to the perfect shape of the trouser. So because this pattern is not transparent, so that's why I put it underneath the pants pattern. So I'll be shaping this to have the exact shape of the trouser. So just watch the way I'm doing this. You can see, so I'm shaping the pockets. So this is how I want it to be. So I'll bring it out and place it on the pattern trouser, and I will just place my hand on it. So I'm just trying to know how wide I want my hand to be inside the pocket. So just place your hand inside it, how wide you want your pocket to be so that it won't be too tight. So I'll just shape it. You can see the way I'm shaping it, and shape it to have that kind of pocket shape like pattern, if that makes sense. So that's just it. So I'll just shape it to have that pocket shape. So I'll put it back underneath the pants pattern, and right now I'll be cutting through the pockets. So I'll be cutting through that for my pocket. I'll cut through that starting from the seam allowances. You can see, don't cut away your seam allowance. That's where you want to cut your pocket. So I'll be cutting this away. So this is what it looks like, the main pocket. So this is the pocket, and I'll be cutting this in 2 places for the 2 sides. So this is the main pocket, and that is the facing for the pocket. So this is what it looks like, and I'll use that main pocket to shape the pocket facing as well. So this is what it looks like. So I'll also label the pocket facing. I'll label it, and I'll also cut it in 2 places. So this is what it looks like. This is the front panel for the trouser, both the pattern and the pocket. So this is what it looks like. So I'll be going back to the back panel of the trouser so we can finish up this tutorial. So move to the back panel. So I've already used my tracing wheel to trace out, so you might not be able to see it, but I can see the lines. So I'll just be using my ruler to bring out the lines that I used my tracing wheel to trace out. So I'll be tracing them out with my ruler. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so that you can always get notified anytime I upload a new tutorial. So this is the entire front trouser pattern. So I'll be using this to draft out the back panel. Just watch whatsoever I'll be doing here. So just watch. I'm trying to label the prominent part. So right now I'll move to the crotch line, and I'll extend it by 2 inches. I'll extend the crotch line by 2 inches, just like so. And also I'll come down by half of an inch from that crotch line. I'll come down by half of an inch. So I'll also bring out the lines for my darts, for my front darts. I'll bring it out. So right now I will divide my dart measurements from that my crotch line to my dart point. I'll divide it into two to get the midpoint. So that's the midpoint of my darts. The distance, that's the midpoint. So right there I'll go up by 2 inches from that midpoint. After dividing the darts, I'll locate the midpoint and go up by 2 inches. So I'm doing this to form my back crotch. This is going to be forming our back crotch. So right now I will go up by 1.5 inch right there at that point of intersection on my crotch line to form my back crotch. So I'll be using this to form my back crotch. So just watch how I'm doing this. I'll be using my pattern tool to form my back crotch. So I'm supposed to use like 2 different markers so that you won't get confused, but then just concentrate. I'm sure you get it. It's very easy to get. So without the front trouser, you won't be able to get the back. So you just have to trace the front so that you can get the back. So right now I've extended my back by 2. So right now I'll just have a straight line from that line. So I'll make sure that it intersects the side of my waist, just like so. You can see it passes through that. You can see the line. So right now I'll take whatsoever I have for my front trouser, the waist measurement, and I'll extend it for the back. Let's say my waist is 8 inches. I'll go to the back and extend that, and I'll mark my 8 inches. So by now the measurement will be like 1 inch more than the front panel, because obviously the back trouser is slantly, so it can't be the same measurement. So you just connect that your waist to meet with your hip measurements for the front. Likewise, my dart line, I will take my dart line, whatsoever I have 4 inches. I will take it to the back trouser and mark my 4 inches for the darts. And right now I'll be forming my darts and take the dart length of about 4 inches and form my back dart. So I've cancelled that. That's just for the front, so you won't get confused. So this is the new dart for the back. So I'll just take my dart measurement and connect my dart line. So we are forming the back trouser already. So right now from that, I will connect my crotch line to meet with my knee line, just like so. From that my crotch of 2 inches of extension, I'll connect it to meet with my knee line, just like so. Just watch the way I'm connecting it. So firstly, I'll use my straight ruler before I use my curve ruler to give it the perfect shape that I want. So you can see I've cancelled the previous line. So this is what the back trouser looks like. So right now I'll be adding my seam allowances of 1/2 inch all the way around, and I've added that. You can see both on the waistline, the side, all area. And right now I'll just be extending my turn up area. I'll slantly extend it just like so. So this is what the back trouser looks like. So right now I'll be adding my zip, because it's going to have back zip. So I'll be adding my zip allowances of 1 inch, and I'll stop at the hip area. That's where I want my zip to stop. So that is just my zip allowance. So I'll be labeling it so that I won't forget when I'm cutting. So it's going to have a back zip. So right now I'm going to be cutting through. Just watch the way I'm going to be cutting this. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So the next tutorial will be on how to use this pattern to cut out the fabric, which is the sewing part. So if you would love to see the sewing part, kindly drop a comment. And if you find this tutorial interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and drop a comment. Just say something nice. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate. So Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to drop a comment if you would love to see the sewing part.